Joining me on the line right now, he is a ring announcer slash commentator slash suit wearer extraordinaire. Emil J's on the line, and he is here to talk about CZW Dojo Wars and Cage of Death, which takes place in Voorhees, New Jersey, this Saturday, December the 12th. Emil, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing quite well, Jerry. How are you? Thank you for having me. Actually, I appreciate that.
You are welcome. Did you like your intro?
Yeah, the suit wearer extraordinaire was a bit of a surprise to me, but not a lie. So I appreciate that, and quite the way to put me over, my friend.
Well, that's what we're gonna do here. We're gonna put CZW over.
Yes, let's do that.
So let's talk about what's going to be going on. This is going to be an all-day affair, even before the iPay-per-view goes live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, you can do that through streamczw.com. Dojo Wars, they will be producing their first ever live event outside of the CZW Academy at the Flyer Skate Zone at 2 p.m.
Yes, that is something that's very, very exciting to a lot of us at CZW and Dojo Wars. Before I get started on the Dojo Wars thing, because that's going to take a bit, we will be opening the doors at the Flyer Skate Zone at 1 o'clock. There will be a meet and greet starting at 1 o'clock with a lot of the Dojo Wars kids and the CZW stars. Some WSU people will probably be there as well. So there's going to be an hour-long meet and greet. A lot of different vendors will be there that afternoon as well. I know George Mayfield from Mayfield Mayhem will be there. He's one of my favorite vendors. He's got all the old Japanese magazines, programs, and DVDs and posters and all sorts of stuff. So anytime that he's at a show, I get really excited. So there's my cheap plug for George Mayfield. But during that first hour, it's just going to be a big meet and greet thing. There's going to be a lot of stuff on sale, a lot of merchandise, a lot of opportunities to meet some of your favorite wrestlers from CZW, Dojo Wars, and WSU. So that will be a great time. And then at 2 o'clock, we're going to start with the Dojo Wars portion of the day. And for those of you who do not know, I've been given the role as a producer at Dojo Wars by way of Drew Gulak, who gave me that distinction. And something is weird.
What's going on?
I feel like my call was dropping out. Did you guys get all that?
Chris is the one that's recording this, and he had to step away for a moment.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah, I don't know. So when Chris comes back, we will proceed. So
okay. Yeah, like I could tell, like it sounded weird.
Okay.
That's why, there was a little noise in the background.
Okay.
That I could not hear anymore, and I was like, oh, maybe my call got dropped.
No, I mean I heard every word you said.
So. Okay, yeah, I was kind of like trailing off because I was like, I don't know if anybody's getting this.
Yeah, sorry, I should have said something.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
My apologies. So why don't you just repeat what you said, starting with the getting the producer's role, and then Chris can edit it together. So
okay, sorry for the extra work, man. That's my bad, I guess. Anyhow, so for those of you who do not know, I've been given the a producer role at Dojo Wars, which means anything from matchmaking to character development, everything in between. That's one of my roles now in the CZW family of promotions, being a producer at Dojo Wars. So this is a project that's very near and dear to me because I've seen a lot of these young aspiring wrestlers come through the doors of the CZW Wrestling Academy and not only ply their craft, but also grow their abilities as an in-ring performer, and a character, or whatever it may be. You know, I see a lot of improvement with a lot of these young wrestlers. So for them to step out of the CZW Wrestling Academy and into the Flyers skate zone on the afternoon of one of the biggest independent wrestling cards anywhere in the country, in the as a whole, that is a huge opportunity for everybody appearing on that afternoon Dojo Wars card at 2 p.m. I'm just gonna, I guess, run through what we have on tap for the Dojo Wars mega event. We have Blackwater against the debuting Utah. Kefka the Quiet, who is a mime, against Jarek 120, who is a magician. So that's going to be full of shenanigans, I'm sure. Big Scare Dan O'Hare against Beautiful Blake. The very popular George Gatton against Jeff Cannonball, who's
Boo! Who did Gatton ever beat?
almost nobody. But we'll see on Saturday if he can get past Jeff Cannonball, who, ask me, he's a guy who's pretty much tailor-made for CZW. He's going to be a good fit, and, just give him a little bit of time to develop and get acclimated with that culture and that environment. Jeff Cannonball could be somebody big in the CZW canon, I suppose, if I can be very punny with his name. But George Gatton's one of those dudes that, him and I, we used to be in the crowd at CZW shows together since like 2007. And to see him, it's always a weird thing for me to like be in the ring and announcing him as a wrestler. Like, I just look at him like, man, like both of us are doing this now. Like this is nuts. This is insane. So, it's another reason why this whole Dojo Wars thing means a lot to me, because there are people that I remember being in the crowd with. Jeff Cannonball is another one of those guys who was in the crowd for CCW shows, and now I get to announce them wrestling each other. So it's like kind of sentimental to me in that way. So that's going to be a really cool experience. Then we have Penelope Ford teaming up with the team of Business Casual, who is Pete Lightning and Hoos Blazer, against Guns A-Blazin', who is a troop of cowboys from the Broken Tooth Ranch in Amarillo, Texas. There, so that's certainly going to be a 6-person tag of epic proportions. Then in a no ropes match, we're going to see Frankie Picard against Kurt Robinson. And I'll tell you what, man, these two guys have been putting on clinics at the most recent Dojo Wars events. We haven't been able to have the Dojo Wars cards every Wednesday like we had been for the majority of the year. The past month and a half or so, that's about the appropriate time window. We haven't been able to have the events due to some issues with the building, but be that as it may, the last 3 Dojo Wars events that we did have on a weekly basis, I'll tell you what, Frankie Picard and Kurt Robinson were going at each other tooth and nail. And the last time they wrestled, they went to a 20-minute time limit draw, and it was one of the best matches I've seen, not just in Dojo Wars, but like for the year. Those two really did have an incredible match, and when that footage gets put online, you can be rest assured, if you follow me at the MLJ or follow the Dojo Wars at Dojo Wars, you're gonna see that match getting posted on Twitter and getting retweeted, and because that was really one hell of a match. Now this time we're going to take the ropes down. These two guys have a very technical, scientific approach with their wrestling, a lot of submission wrestling, and this time they're not going to be able to grab onto the ropes to get a rope break. You're going to have to fight your way out of these holds, wrestle your way out, and a lot of times in their previous matches, Kurt's leg had been damaged. Frankie's arm had been damaged for quite some time, and they had to grab to those ropes to get out of some of these moves because their limbs were in such a bad way. But now they're not going to have that sort of way out. So that's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of a different kind of philosophy going into this match because you're going to have to figure out a way to fight out of that hold. And that's a match that I'm very excited to see. That's my favorite style of wrestling. And then we will have a 2 out of 3 falls match for the Medal of Valor, the current Medal of Valor champion. The Wrench Connor Claxton will be defending his medal against Brittany Blake, who is one of the top students of the CZW Wrestling Academy. All of the Medal of Valor matches are 2 out of 3 falls, sort of like a throwback to the old days of the NWA champion, where they would wrestle in 2 out of 3 falls contests. So you're not just gonna be able to beat the champion once and say that you're the champion. You're gonna have to decidedly defeat that person 2 times in the in the constraints of one match to become the new champion. So again, it's a different kind of philosophy that not a lot of people, not a lot of wrestlers go into their matches having. Because let's face it, 2 out of 3 falls is sort of a stipulation of the of before. We haven't seen a lot of 2 out of 3 falls matches in modern times, and it's a shame, I think. But at Dojo Wars, we thought it was a little neat twist that we could put on our title matches, our Medal of Valor matches, and we're going to see if Connor Claxton retains or if Brittany Blake becomes the second ever Medal of Valor champion, as it were. And then in the main event of the afternoon, it's going to be an over-the-top rope battle royal. The amount of participants is unknown at this point. It can be anywhere from, 20 to 50. Who knows? I don't even know at this time. I don't think any of us know. But what the winner of this match, this battle royal, gets in the main event of the afternoon is the opportunity to compete in a match on the Cage of Death card itself. So, I was talking about these young wrestlers, these young up-and-coming aspiring wrestlers to step out of the wrestling academy and into the Flyer Skate Zone in front of a much larger crowd and much more maybe bloodthirsty crowd than they are used to participating in front of. Now, one lucky person is going to get the opportunity to compete in front of the largest crowd that they've ever been in front of, and the most bloodthirsty crowd they've ever been in front of, by way of winning this over-the-top rope battle royal. So, we want to talk about an opportunity. Man, Cage of Death is one of the biggest independent wrestling cards of the year, anywhere. And it's a golden opportunity for somebody to really make a name for themselves and kind of go from proving ground to the top tier, in one jump, pretty much. One step, they're there, just by winning this over-the-top rope battle royal. So that's something really, really exciting that a lot of people should be keeping a close eye on. Because there's going to be a lot of young guys and girls in that ring that are looking for a spot. So who knows what they may or may not do in order to solidify their spot on the evening's show. So that's the Dojo Wars mega event. Like I said, I'm very, very excited for it. It's only $5 for admission to get into the Dojo Wars portion of the event, the all-day event on December 12th. It's either, and we're also doing the Toys for Tots drive all day long. We will be collecting. So if you're going to Cage of Death, be sure to bring an unwrapped toy. We will be collecting for Toys for Tots all day long. So that's pretty much the afternoon. And I guess I'll segue back to you, Jerry. You want to talk about Cage of Death, right?
Yeah, I have a cold, so you've done a lot of talking for me, Emil. I appreciate that. You just went off. I didn't even need to read the card. You just typed everything up. You're doing my job for me.
Well, I mean, I'm sort of like the hype man at CZW, as it were.
Absolutely. So, CZW Cage of Death. There's a lot of possibilities for this show. I'm sure circumstances have changed what would have been a really big card, but obviously, we have what we have. But still, some really interesting things going on Saturday. Of course, Cage of Death for the CZW World Heavyweight Title. Matt Tremont will be defending that title against Masada, AR Fox, and Devin Moore. These guys are crazy, so I can only imagine what AR Fox is going to do in a Cage of Death.
Oh yeah, I think that's the what is I can't think of the phrase, like the wild card, I guess. Matt Tremont having become the CZW World Heavyweight Champion, the goal that he has set, right from jump, getting into the professional wrestling industry, he's going to do pretty much anything to keep his title. We know that. Masada, a world travel death match, just a brutal man. Like he is just like, if I'm ever in a place where I may be in fear for my life, Masada is one of the first guys that I would say, hey, I want you to be by my side. You know what I mean? Like he could just wreck people. I've seen him do it. As a matter of fact, there was one night him and I spent in Atlantic City, just him and I. We went from 6 p.m. till 7 a.m. Drinking and carrying on, and some people almost got beaten pretty badly. But that's a story for a different time.
Statute of limitations expired on this story, or do we need to wait?
They walked away, but it was they almost had a bad time. They almost had a real bad time. But and then you got Devin Moore, who's like, he's almost sort of like Mr. CZW sort of. He can do it all. You can throw him in a tournament of death. You can throw him in a cage of death. You can throw him in best of the best. You can have him fight for the wire title. You can have him team up with one of his Nation of Intoxication stablemates and have him challenge for the tag belts. You can put him in a scramble. You can put him in a singles match. You can do anything with him. So he's been in Cage of Deaths before, and he's sort of like an MVP sort of for CZW. You can put him in anywhere; he'll adapt. But the wild card here is AR Fox, because this guy is a nut. He's insane, and not in the same way as like Masada is. AR Fox I think he's legitimately made out of rubber. I think that he can pretty much take any move from any height and still kind of just like bounce right back up to his feet and shrug it off. I don't know what hurts this guy. He'll jump off of anything. He'll do flips. So him in a case of death is just like mind-boggling to me. I want to see what kind of shit AR Fox does. That to me is sort of like the most appealing thing about the main event in and of itself. Because I know what Matt Tremont can do in a cage of death. I know what Masada can do. I know what Devin Moore can do. But what the hell is AR Fox going to do in a cage of death? That's the biggest question in my mind.
Another matchup, championship match, is going to be Joey Janela versus Leo Rush. Two individuals that have been getting a lot of press lately. Maybe not so good in one case, but obviously this is for the Wired title, and regardless, these are two very buzzed about young athletes at this point, and I know you've got to be excited for this one because you're talking about two high flyers that are going to go out there and try to kill it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, Joey Janela is one of those guys who goes out every show, every match that he wrestles. It's like he doesn't care whether it's like 5 people in a crowd or 50 or 500, and no matter how cliched that is. But Joey Janela goes out there and he wrestles the Joey Janela match. He goes and does. He'll jump off the top turnbuckle. He'll do moves on the apron, and he'll dive out of the ring. It doesn't matter to Joey. He's just gonna do what he does. But it's Cage of Death. That has a meaning to a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of eyes on this show. There's going to be a lot of people at this show, and competing on a Cage of Death means a lot to a lot of wrestlers themselves. One of those wrestlers being Joey Janela. So Joey Janela pushes the envelope on a regular Friday night spot show somewhere, no matter where it is. I am not, whatever promotion or whatever. I'm not, being specific, but if it's just like a regular Friday night show or whatever, he's going to push the envelope. But now it's Cage of Death. So he's going to shove that envelope, man. He's going to come out there with some off-the-wall type stuff that I'm predicting that we're going to see something in the Joey Janela-Leo Rush match that we've never seen before in wrestling. I'm sure that that Joey Janela is going to come up with something to do to Leo or vice versa that has never been done, and people are going to be like speechless. They're going to be rendered speechless about it, and then they're going to mark out appropriately. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
Leo Rush is one of those guys who just came on the scene pretty suddenly, I'd say. He did a few things down in Maryland, did a few Dojo Wars matches, late last year, early this year, and then all of a sudden, with kind of like the snap of a finger, Leo Rush is everywhere, and he's killing it, and he's got so much. When I say he has so much potential, that doesn't mean I don't think he's good now, because he's really good now. But he just turned 21. He's a young athlete. He hasn't even reached his physical peak yet. I mean, and he can do some of these things. So if he's this good right now, imagine how good, how great he is going to be in like 2 or 3 years down the line. It's scary, man.
He is almost 10 years younger than I am. That's really sad.
I mean, age is weird, man.
It's really terrible. Reminds you.
But yeah, this is one of these matches that on paper it leaps off the page or the computer screen at you. You're like, man, Janela Rush. That's they did have a match in Night of Infamy. They were the opening match, and I'll tell you what, man, they set the pace for the entire show. They went out there and. There are also 2 very, very popular people within the CZW crowd. So, I mean, I think it's going to be an electric atmosphere for this match. It's going to be a big crowd. Everybody, people like Joey, people like Leo, and it's just going to be a madhouse, I think.
So we're running a little short on time, but there's a couple things that I absolutely wanted to make sure that we mentioned. Of course,
okay.
Sami Callihan will be returning to CZW this Saturday. A little bit fortunate for you guys that you get to have Sami Callihan back. I think when people think of Sami Callihan, CZW is probably one of the first places they think of as like his home.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Obviously a big deal.
Yeah, I'm quite excited to have Sami back in the fold. But before he got signed, he was on a real tear. Personally, I have a lot of history with Sami. Working very closely with him for Force One back in the day, like 2010, 2011. So I'm kind of excited to have my old friend back. Now, for people that have been paying attention on social media, there's one person that's talking a lot louder than the rest about wanting to face him, and that's the King of Taunts, David Starr. David Starr has made it very clear that he wants to wrestle Sami Callihan. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
All right. What else are you looking forward to? Obviously, we've got Tim Donst versus Joe Gacy. We've got Ricky Shane.
I Quit match.
Yes, in an I Quit match, we've got Ricky Shane Page and Danny Havoc. I know Ricky's got to be really excited to finally be wrestling on a Cage of Death show. For the CZW Tag Team titles, Team Tremendous will be defending against TV Ready of Pepper Parks and my favorite wrestler in the world, Black Cheese. What
I
else?
love Black Cheese. I know you love Black Cheese. I love him too.
I love the man to death. So, Emil, anything else that you're really looking forward to? Anything else stand out? Anything else that we need to mention?
I'll just round out the card real quickly. Also in tag team action, the amazing Gulags, Drew and Rory against the Beaver Boys. Johnny Silver and Alex Reynolds making their return to CZW. We also will see Tony Nese go one-on-one with Greg Excellent, who has sort of kind of changed his mentality sort of when it comes to pro wrestling. Not so much of the jolly, happy-go-lucky guy that he used to be. He's a bit more serious now, and by a bit more, I mean a lot more serious. And finally, rounding out the card for in a qualifier for a Best of the Best 15, we will have a scramble match. We have not announced any of the participants for this match yet, but there will be some new faces in CZW in this match. Some people that you wouldn't expect, really, and which is very exciting for me. Some lesser known talents in the Northeast area, and here's hoping that these individuals are able to get over in front of the most difficult crowd in independent wrestling, and are able to put on a show-stealing masterpiece that I know that the individuals involved can and will, I'm sure they will do. And of course, they're fighting for a spot in Best of the Best 15, which is one of the most prestigious independent wrestling tournaments there is every year. So, I mean, altogether, top to bottom, I mean, like you said, we did have other plans for Cage of Death as the year progressed, but be that as it may, I think we really put together a strong card for Cage of Death, and I, for one, am very, very excited for December 12th to roll its way around. Right now it's Monday the 7th, and we're just, about 4 days away at this point, because it's late on Monday. So I can't wait, man. It's one of my favorite times of the year, Cage of Death time.
Do you have a special suit picked out for Saturday?
Typically for Cage of Death, I break out my black velvet tuxedo.
Outstanding.
It's all velvet, blazer and pants. And it's black, and the inside's got a nice paisley color to it. And, not color, but a paisley design. And, man, I love it. I'll tell you what, it's hot, but it's worth it. I get very overheated in it, but, you got to look good for Cage of Death, man.
This is what makes you stand out. There's some ring announcers that don't wear suits, and they look like geeks.
They look like putzes, and they should get out of the ring. They don't belong.
You're not a geek. You stand out. You got those lovely, lovely suits. And
thank you so much. Also, thank you for cutting me off when I was about to go on a rant about ring announcers that don't belong in the business, because that's for a different time.
That's for a different time. You got to come back. You got to be drunk, and then you can go on that rant.
Oh yeah, definitely. Anytime, man.
All right. Before we get out of here, obviously you've done a great job plugging CZW, but if people want to hear your ramblings on Twitter and other social media venues, where can they do that?
As you know, Jerry, I do rant quite a lot on the Twitter. It's at the MLJ, TheEmiljay. Got a little tongue-tied. And that's my handle on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Tinder. And,
I was just going to make that joke.
and MySpace.
Me too.
I don't have a Tinder, though. I really don't. But that's my gimmick everywhere. Is it my gimmick on Skype? I think it is.
Excellent.
Not that. Who knows? It's my gimmick everywhere.
And
The
here's the
MLJ.
most
So
here's the most important thing. If people want to book you as a ring announcer or as a commentator or anything else, how can they do that?
just find me on Twitter or Facebook at the MLJ. Send me a message. I reply to pretty much everything, whether it's a booking inquiry or just a "Hey man, what's up?" kind of deal. I'm very accessible to not only promoters, bookers, but also fans and people that don't even like wrestling. Why I would say that on a show that's predominantly about independent wrestling? Who knows? But yeah, if you're interested in utilizing me in a ring announcer, commentator, or even managerial type capacity, you can do so by sending me a DM or a private message on Facebook or Twitter at the MLJ.
All right, Emil, thank you very much, sir. Have yourself a wonderful evening, and we'll see you Saturday at Cage of Death.